Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing the top 3 hardest regions to play in. So this was kind of spurred on by a lot of the people, a lot of the community that's been stopping by during the live streams and just giving their 2 cents on the recent runs that I've been doing on the channel. It kind of just got me thinking, you know, what are the hardest places to play in? Because as someone who plays a lot of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, one of the differences between Romance and Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening, especially, is that there's no growth. And, you know, you hit a cap. Everything's designed with a cap in mind. So you don't really even out completely in this game. One region cannot even out with another region. For example, it's just once you hit those cap limits, once you hit those plot limits for what you can build, that's it. So it gives it a very distinct flavor in the sense that there are regions that are just much more difficult to play at than other places on the map, right? So with these 3 regions in mind, there's going to be stuff that they have that you're just going to hear me hammer on again and again, and it's just going to get worse as we move up. But some of the things that you're going to hear a lot, okay? These 3 regions have low manpower. They're going to have supply line problems. There's going to be prestige problems. There's going to be very weak officer corps. Okay, and what I mean by officer corps, I mean the group of officers that you can put together in these regions is very weak. You might have 1 or 2 standouts. But since this is a top 3, right, this means that we're comparing it to the rest of the map. So compared to your neighbors with these top 3, it's very weak, you know. And actually another thing that they have is they are all going to have one clear-cut clan. You know, they have one clan. It's almost like these 3 regions are developed with one clan in mind. And if you're not playing as that clan, you're going to have a bad time. Okay? You're going to struggle. And even if you are playing as that clan, it's still very difficult. Okay? That's why, you know, I really feel like these 3 places are very tough. Because even if you are playing with the clan in mind, that doesn't mean that it's easy, it's a slam dunk, you know. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get this. So starting in the number 3 spot, we have the Chugoku region. So the thing about Chugoku is that while it does extend all the way down here, technically, most of the time you're going to be playing as one of the big 3 clans if it's early on, the Imago, the Ouchi, or the Mori, right? Now this map here, this is our ongoing Imago run that I've got loaded up, which we're doing this live stream run on every Saturday. So, you know, we're going to be continuing this run on Saturday. So that's why the map looks a little different. But I wanted to use this map because I could show you just how massively bloated all of Chugoku really is, right? So before that, most of the time you're going to be playing as one of these 3 if they're around, or if you're playing at a later date, you're going to be playing as the Mori clan, okay? And really that's it. There's not too many choices, but again, this region is absolutely massive. So with a huge domain like this, it means that you're going to have supply problems. You're going to have problems getting your forces to the front because you're just covering so much space. Okay, so let me show you guys. If you click on regional unity, if we click on that here, we can see how much you need to take this whole region. It's insane. I mean, we have 14 castles already. We need 15 more castles still. It's massive. I mean, like Shikoku, by comparison, Shikoku is just this little island, and then this little island here. You know, it's like 15 castles, I think. This is double the space to get this region, okay? Now, the reason that it's number 3 is because, in a sense, compared to the other 2 spots, it's, you know, you're not going to have manpower problems here. This is the biggest region on this list, okay, by a lot, right? But again, managing this front, or even half of this front, like I said, let's say you're not going to take the whole region. You're just going to leave, you know, you're just going to focus on one spot. It doesn't matter. You really only have two ways to expand, east or west, because heading into Shikoku is not worth it, but more on that later. If you head west, your talent is not equal to the talent that you're going to find in Kyushu, okay? And if you're playing later on, a later date, it's actually, it's even worse, right? Because if you're playing later on, that means that you're playing as the Mori probably, and the Mori fall off in a couple of years. But again, the talent comparison is not good. Kyushu has a lot more talent. The Shimazu are much better. Soren's Automo can are pretty much even talent-wise. And in the east, of course, we have the capital. Sooner or later, you're going to have the Oda there, right? So there's comparatively, your talent, the talent that you can get from Chugoku is not enough to stand up to your neighbors, to your other neighbors around you, okay? And the supply lines are another thing. So again, because the domain is huge, getting your troops with any cohesion to either front, just to one front, is going to be a kind of a really big task. Very big task. And never mind getting them to two fronts, okay? I did a run, I think it was Siege of Osaka as the Mori, and sending troops to the east, to your eastern front, and then to your western front to try to do something else is really difficult. Like, again, a logistical nightmare is the best way I can put it, because it's just so much territory. Again, you don't want to go to Shikoku at all. Complete waste of time. Unless you have a gem, you know, a force that's about to be wiped out like we do in this special situation. The Miyoshi are going to be isolated very soon. So that might be worth us going down here just to get the officers. Just to recruit the officer corps. But Shikoku here, not really worth marching if you're coming up. Shikoku. I keep saying that wrong. Shikoku, not really worth marching towards if you're starting in Chugoku. It's usually you're either going to go west or east. Both prospects are very difficult. This region is one of those regions, and so are the other two, where you really just, you get the regional unity and then you call it a game. Okay, because managing anything more than that, it's just a hard ask, okay? And like I had said at the beginning of the video, it's designed with one clear clan in mind for you to play as, and that is the Mori. Okay, the other two regions on this list are the same thing. This region is pretty much designed with the Mori in mind, and that's it. Everyone else feels almost like an afterthought. I've played as the Ouchi, very tough. We're playing as the Imago right now. Holy crap! I mean, check out the run if you haven't already, right? So that's the number 3 region, Chugoku. Like I said, it's the reason that it's number 3 and it's not higher on this list is because it is so incredibly bloated that you will have soldiers. Unlike the other two on this list, you will be able to muster soldiers. So it has that going for it, okay? And you're not going to have prestige problems, unlike the other two on this list. The other two on this list are going to have prestige problems. But if you're in this region, chances are, if you're playing as Diauchi, you have some starting prestige, so you don't have to worry about that. And you will have some manpower. If you're playing as the Imago, same thing. You'll have a little bit of prestige to start, and you will have some manpower overall. And then the Mori, of course, over time, their prestige, I think, jumps up to 300 or 400, so they don't have any prestige problem at all, and they have the whole region to themselves. So any of these big three at least won't have that problem, and they at least will have soldiers that they can bring to the front. Now, bringing those soldiers to the front and fighting effectively, that's a whole nother matter. That's where the trouble begins. And again, you can have the soldiers, but you won't have the talent to stand up to the west. And if you're not quick enough, which is what we're trying to do here, if you're not quick enough, you're definitely not going to have the talent to stand up to the east in the Oda. So that's Chugoku at number 3. So the number 2 spot, the Tohoku region. Oh my god. Okay, this is why I got this list out so quickly, because I'm like, I have so many thoughts, I got to get them out, right? So again, this region is really built, in my opinion, with the Date in mind. And no one else. Okay? Nobody else. Yeah, there's Aura up here. There was Nanbu up here. We're using our, this is our other live stream run here with the Aura. Go check it out on the channel if you haven't already. There's other clans. Yes, technically there are other clans. This is built with the Date in mind. They're the clear-cut clan to pick here, okay? Even playing as the Date, it is very difficult to play in this region. Very difficult, okay? So unlike Chugoku, right? Tohoku has the manpower problem in the sense that this portion of the map here is very underpopulated. There's just very little castles, okay? Very little castles. This whole region, let's look at the map. Let's turn on the regional unity. It's not a bad number of castles, 26 castles if you have the whole region. But the problem is the layout of these castles. You can see that a huge portion of these castles are settled around the Ashina clans and the Date clans. They're concentrated, okay? So if you're playing as the Date, all your stuff is together, very close to each other. This is great for supply lines, battles, everything, right? You can reinforce, you can decide where to push. You can, you know, ball up your hand and make a fist very easily with these castles. Not so much everywhere else. Okay, look how scattered. This castle feels like it's stranded, absolutely stranded in the middle of nowhere. Like a desert almost right here, right? Very stranded everywhere else. Stranded. Very far apart. Very difficult to put together a force and march it. You know, a cohesive unit. Very difficult to do everywhere else. Except for the Date and the Ashina clans, okay? Again, this area is set up for the Date to run. So you do have a lot of castles, you know, 20, what is that, 26? 26 castles versus the number 3 spot, Chugoku's 29 castles. But the layout, I have to, if you haven't played up here, this is my first time playing up here, okay? My first time, very difficult, okay? If you guys have played up here, then you already know, you know. It's very difficult to get your troops to the front lines. If you are playing up here in northern Tohoku, your manpower is very, very low because there's very few castles up here, and the castles that you do have are small. That's another thing that's kind of a weird trait of some of these castles. Let's look at these. Okay, so this castle here has 3 plots to build on, 2 plots to build on. That's it, just 2 plots. 4, which is at least average, you know, standard, let's say. 3 plots here in the Namioka castle, and 4 plots there. So only 2 castles of the ones that I have so far have 4. This has got a 3. That's got 2 plots, and a 3 for here. Let's check the Anto. Why not? 4. I would hope that they'd fare a little better, but 3? Only 3, man. 3 is such a death sentence in this game. Again, like I said and 3 again. So remember, like I said at the beginning of the video, in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series, for example, everything keeps growing. Okay, everything will eventually get capped out to a point where you're more or less even with everyone else. Not so in Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening. You are limited by how many counties you have and how many spaces you have that you can build stuff on, how many plots you have for your castles. So this region up here has severe manpower issues because not only is there few castles, the castles that there are very small. Okay, there's very little wiggle room that you have to build stuff with them. Okay, now add on to that the fact that they're so spread apart, that means that you're going to have supply problems. Marching soldiers from up here to down here to the front line is a real nightmare. Okay, it's a real nightmare. It's a real gamble. Because by the time they get here, they're already running low on fumes. There's almost no food left and, you know, all that stuff. The battle can change. By the time these units get from here to here, it can be a totally different situation. So you can't react on a dime. You can't react on a dime like your neighbors can, right? We're just making our way to confront the Date here. Remember, the Date are concentrated. Their starting positions are concentrated. So it's very easy for him to reinforce, to defend. Not so easy from a force that's coming from up here. Okay? So the supply lines are a big problem. Both in troops, getting the few troops that you can together, and also getting your food to the front lines, you know, at the right time. Marches, you almost... it almost requires you to have a good amount of foresight into how things are going to play out before you march. Okay. Another thing that this region has a problem with is prestige, of course. Every clan up here, save for the Nanbu, I think the Nanbu maybe in one start has a starting prestige of like 10 or 15. So the problem with prestige, I've said it a lot on the channel, but I'm going to explain it here again. The problem with prestige is that your basic policies, and even the most basic policies, such as system reform in this game, require a minimum prestige of 150 to max out. We're talking basic policies, guys, like being able to change what samurai are in what counties, who's in charge of your castle, what lords are in charge of what castles where. These are very basic things that you need to do in this game, and you need a prestige rating of 150. So having a starting prestige of 10 and not having enough domain to build on your prestige to get it through conquering is like almost a death sentence, okay? Because you can't develop properly with your policies. You can't unlock basic functions that other clans can get later on, or that they just have. So it's a huge problem. Another thing is economy. Okay, if you want to build your prestige, then you can just send an envoy to the court, right? But that takes money, and that takes a year of goodwill to the court, and it's very expensive. Again, you don't have a lot of castles. You don't have a lot of... It's everything. Economy is very low up here. Manpower is very low up here. Everything. This is a region where, again, and this is the same for all three clans up here, you take over. If you can get the regional unity, you get the regional unity, and then you just kind of wring your hands of the whole playthrough and you move on, okay? Because charging down here, once you hit your neighbors, which in this case, if you're playing up here in Tohoku, your neighbors are going to be the Uesugi or the Hojo, and they're going to be a very strong Uesugi and Hojo. Very low chance that you're going to get through. It's going to be very, very difficult. So most of the time you're going to play up here for the novelty of it, and then you're going to say, okay, that was fun. I've taken half of the region, or I've almost got the regional unity, close enough, forget about it. And the reason behind that thinking is because it's actually a very difficult region to play in. It's not because it's boring or it's easy. It's nothing like that. The real reason is because it's actually really tough to get your manpower up here from the north, and it's limited manpower. And again, the prestige system prevents you from building. You can't sit here when you have low prestige in this game. You're just limited in what you can purchase, what policies you can get, which hurts. It hurts your build variety. If you have an idea for what you want to do, you just can't access some things. You just can't access them. That's all there is to it, because you don't have the prestige, or worse, you just don't have the money to afford the policies that you want. So even playing as the Date in this region, the Chugoku has the Mori, Tohoku has the Date. Even if you play as the lead clan in these regions, it's still a tough ask. If I was playing the Date, maybe I could march all the way up here and settle all this territory. But once that's done, I'm probably not going to make a bid and march towards the capital, because it's just too much. It's just too much. Marching backwards this way, there's not enough. First of all, it's not really worth it, because if I march back here and I take all this stuff, right? Let's work our way up. If you take all of this stuff up here, you really use these soldiers, as I've just described. It's very tough to use these soldiers up here to help you push down here. So you're going to get the economic boon out of it, right? If you're playing as the Date, but that's about it. These soldiers aren't really going to be able to help you, and it's just a waste of time. By the time you're ready to march south after heading north, and you're going to have real obstacles in your way. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to say, that's a wrap right there. You know what I mean? And I don't blame you. It's not designed well. This region is not designed well, in my opinion. And one more thing I'll say is the officer corps. Weak officer corps, right? That's what I was talking about with these top 3. The officer corps up here are very, very weak. Very weak. We're playing as the Aura, which is it's a very tough clan, so let's not say them. But even if you're playing as the Nanbu, you only have 2 to 3 guys who are decent. If you're playing as the Date, the best clan, you still have a really good rival in Kenshin over here, the Uesugi over here, and you still have a pretty decent rival in the Hojo over here. So your talent core as the Date, for example, the best clan, is pretty damn good. But you're still just even overall with your neighbors, the Hojo and the Uesugi. You're still just even with them, except you have more problems than they do. Again, your regional unity, your region has all these other problems attached to it. So it's still an uphill battle, even playing with the best clan. And like I said, if you're playing with these clans up here, good luck to you. Good luck to you, because talent is very scarce on top of everything else. So that is Tohoku, number 2 spot. All right, let's get to the okay. So number 1 spot is Shikoku. Oh man, so a long time ago I did a video when the game, a little bit after the game first came out, the top 5 beginner clans, and I think my number 5 or my number 4 was the Chosokabe clan, right? And I recommended people to start here and to play, if you're a beginner, to play on the small island of Shikoku. And I ended that video, this is a little bit after release, I ended that video saying that after you take the island, and when you're close to taking the island, then to, you know, it's a wrap after that, right? To call it right there. Okay, you've almost taken the island, great. You can end your playthrough, consider it a win as a beginner, and move on. And the reason I said that, I might have hinted at it, I'm not sure, was that playing on this island is great as a new player, but once you're done with this island, it quickly turns into one of the most difficult places to play in. And it's, like I said, it's number 1 for this list. It is the hardest region to play in my opinion, okay? All the other regions just don't compare to this one. So where do we start? Let's start with the manpower comparison, right? So compared to the other 2 regions, Shikoku has, I believe it's only 6. I think it's only 11 castles. So 3, 6, 9 right here, 10, 11. Oh yeah, and the little island here, 12. So you only have 12 castles total to take this region. But let's say you're only going to take 11 because you don't want to necessarily commit to the east. So let's say you're going to take this region here. 11 castles. Less than half of Chugoku, and which was the number 3 spot, and I think that's less than half as well to Tohoku, which was the number 2 spot. So severe manpower problems. And when I say severe, I mean severe, man. Brutal. Okay? You cannot muster troops anywhere near any of your neighbors. Think of it in regions, right? So if you take over this island, once you're done with the island, it's like flipping a switch from beginner mode to expert mode. You have your neighbor up here, which is probably going to be the Mori in Chugoku. Massive power. If you head west, you're going to have your neighbor, the Otomo or the Shimazu, depending on how long it takes you, because a key thing in this game, the ultimate level in this game is, in terms of playing well, is being able to play efficiently, right? But also fast. You also need speed. Speed is a factor in that efficiency. So it's not just winning battles and building properly, but winning quickly. Always, maintaining good momentum is a key thing. So if you head over here, depending on how long it takes you to take the island, you could be facing Shimazu. Best case, it's Otomo, which is still not great, okay? And like I said, this region here still outpowers you in terms of manpower, in terms of soldiers. And then, of course, over here, you have the castle, which if you know these territories, you know that these territories have absolutely insane caps when it comes to soldiers, okay? It's not uncommon, for example, for Honganji, for Ishiyama Temple to have 24,000, 25,000 soldiers in just a couple years by itself, okay? So everywhere that you compare to around you, you're severely understaffed when it comes to soldiers. You just can't muster enough soldiers, and that's because the region is so small, right? Your supply lines, man, oh man. Again, this island is so awkwardly positioned. If you're invaded on the left, if you're going west, you can forget about getting troops from your eastern end here to help you on the west, and vice versa. And if you're going north, if you're on the southern end here and you want to go up here north to invade up here, getting your troops from here to here is almost impossible. You have to be very precise. You need needle-like precision when you orchestrate a march and you want to utilize all your troops on this island. You really need needle-like precision because the supply lines are going to be very, very tight. Very tight. So you have to account for so many things. The slightest screw up, the slightest thing that you didn't expect was going to happen, and everything comes crashing down. You know, everybody, you know, you're going to immediately, 3 to 4 castles are just not going to have the supplies to participate in the battle any longer because you've been held up, because someone's joined into the battle that you weren't expecting, because you're being invaded from the other point of the castle. And that brings me to another problem with Shikoku, right? You can be invaded from any direction at any time. I mean, it almost feels like playing in the center, you know, one of these regions up here. But there's a reason these regions aren't even considered, because all these regions are full of powerhouses from left to right. And even the territories that don't have powerhouses at least benefit from the fact that they're in the capital. So the capital offers its own advantages in the sense that you have insane troop numbers, insane build potential, in terms of what you can build. You know, if you want to build guns, if you want to build some cavalry, if you want to play as a powerful clan, all these other regions have, you know, a lot of potential, a lot of things that you can lean into to help you. Not in Shikoku. Shikoku doesn't have really any build potential. I actually think there's only one stable, maybe 2 stables in the whole island. I think there's one here and there's one over here somewhere. There's a run that we did on the channel. It was Motochika 1591 as the Chosokabe. And if you guys want to see the struggles of playing in this region, I highly recommend you go check that out. You will see the problems that I'm talking about, the logistics. Okay, trying to figure out how to use my supplies well and efficiently. The fact that you don't have any manpower. The officer corps, okay, the lack of talent on this island is brutal, okay? Let's start with the Chosokabe. So the Chosokabe are the ones, you know, this island is designed with you in mind as playing as the Chosokabe. You know, each region suffers from this problem. That's why they're in the top, that's part of the reason they're on the top 3 list, okay? And there's a lot of reasons. I'm just touching on the main ones because, I don't want to keep you guys all day. But one of the main reasons is that it's this region, each of these is designed with really one clear-cut clan in mind for you to play as. And it's almost like Koei designed it with casual taste in mind, right? Where it's like, we don't expect people to really play in Chugoku. Let's make the Mori really, really strong, really fun to play with, and that's it. We'll move on. The other guys will just kind of fill in a little bit, right? It's the same thing here with the Chosokabe. Chosokabe are really the only big, strong, interesting clan to play as. You do have the Miyoshi, who have some of the island, but I don't really consider the Miyoshi a Shikoku clan, because they're more concentrated on the castle. Most of their story, everything to do with them is really concentrated on the castle. These are like these are like, just leftovers. When they start to fall and everything, and they're stranded here, they're not even the same clan anymore. They're still, by the time they're isolated to up here, they're still much weaker than the Chosokabe. So the Chosokabe is the clan that's designed, right? Even with them, they just don't have a lot of talent compared to the other regions. Okay, again, if we take Kunichika here, for example, we have Motochika, Kunichika, the other brother, Chikayasu, Chikasara. You have like maybe 5 guys, 5 or 6 officers that are pretty good. They're decent, right? But they don't stand up to the neighbors. Once you have this island, you still aren't going to stand up to an Oda force that's in the capital. You're certainly not standing up to the Mori. You might break even with the Mori in talent. Your talent might even out with the Mori's talent, depending on the time and the situation. But they still have you with 1,000 other ways, right? They still have you with the manpower and all that other stuff. So it's not enough there. And you're definitely not better than Soren. You're definitely not better than Soren's Officer Corps. Soren's Officer Corps is like, it's insane. You know, it's kind of similar. If you squint, you're like, okay, it's 5 good guys here, 5 good guys here, but Soren has 2 guys who are S tier. He has 2 guys, at least 2 guys who are playing on their own level, and then later on 3 guys with Mune Shige. So no matter which direction you pick, you can't muster talent that is stronger than your other regions, than your other neighbors. So that's another problem, a lack of talent. Again, my 5091 start, it's on the channel. Check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. You just can't. If you have to fight more than one front at a time, it's really tough, because you just have enough talent to fight on one front, and that's it. That's it. Someone else invades you, you're like, oh crap, I don't have anything. And when I say you don't have anything, I mean like beyond just the talent. Most of the times, if I'm fighting on the east here and I get invaded in the west, I don't have the officers to deal with it. I don't have the soldiers to deal with it, because again, it's only 11 castles. It's only 11. So wherever you go, once you take this region, wherever you go, you're going to have a giant next to you, okay? And you're going to need almost everybody that you can to try to hurt that giant. So getting invaded from another direction is almost always death. It's just almost always death. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't, there's ways around. You can form alliances. You can become a vassal. There's plenty of ways, just like anything else in any other sandbox. You can find a way to manipulate AI and to cheese around almost anything, okay? But we're not looking at that, right? We're just, because you can say that about anything, right? We're just looking at if you conquer this island and you go to fight, you really have to worry about so many things. There's so many pitfalls. It is very difficult to march from Shikoku. It has its own unique problem that the other two don't have. Whereas Chugoku, it's where do you want to go, east or west? If you're playing up there in Tohoku, if you're playing up here in Tohoku, your decisions are made for you. You're really railroaded up here. You're going south, and that's it. If you're starting as the Date and you're going for your regional, you're heading north. That's it. It's very simple. Your development path is you know what I mean, like it's outlined for you. If you're playing here, you have 2 options. If you're playing in Shikoku, you have 3 options, and it's too many options. You can almost suffer from analysis paralysis being on this island. Where do I go? Who do I attack? Who do I go after? Who do I befriend? Who do I have to watch out for? You can really suffer from that on this island, where ultimately you just say, you know what? I've taken the island. Let's wrap it up here and let's move on. That's why I said if you play as the Chosokabe, they're a great beginner clan. But once you take over most of this island, you want to wrap it up and move on to somebody else, because it does become expert mode very, very quickly. And the slower you are to take this island, the more punished you're going to be. The slower you are to take it, the more punished you're going to be. So, and again, this is just Chosokabe. I can't imagine playing as one of these other clans up here. I can't. Because even playing as Chosokabe is a tall order. So playing as one of these other guys has got to be extremely difficult. Even more so than Chosokabe. So yeah, I think that about covers it. I didn't touch on the prestige, but same talking points from Tohoku. Prestige woes everywhere. You can see here we have 5 prestige. If we took everything on this island, we still wouldn't get enough prestige to get system reform capped, to get our basic policies unlocked. We have to deal with the court, which is going to kill our economy, because dealing with the court is expensive. Getting titles is expensive. I think it's like 400. It's double goodwill to start. And your titles get even more expensive as you move up. So one title's not going to cut it, okay? You're going to need 3 to 4 titles. 3 to 4 titles so that you can actually develop these things properly. Otherwise, almost all this stuff is going to be locked off. And some of this stuff you need. You need small unit deployment, okay? You need to be able to march farther with days, with provisions. Because again, your island is so spread out everywhere, you're going to need standing army. Because once you take this island, your neighbors are just going to be titans. And you need more soldiers to try to even out the playing field. There's all this stuff that is going to be locked behind prestige. And all these clans up here are going to have this problem. The Miyoshi, I don't think, have this problem. At least they don't have the prestige problem. But again, they're more of a capital. You know, they're more a capital region force than they are a Shikoku force. So we're not really counting them on this list, of course. So yeah, prestige problems, talent, marching, logistical nightmare, manpower, everything. This island has it all, and it has analysis paralysis. Do not play on this island. If you suffer from analysis paralysis, where you're prone to getting into these positions where you're like, I don't know what to do next, where I should go next. Playing on this island, once you conquer it and trying to figure out who do I go punch up towards can be very difficult, you know. Sometimes your decision will be made for you, like I showed earlier, where maybe there's a clan that's going to be wiped out soon. You know, maybe the Suzuki clan still only has one starting castle, and your decision is made for you. Oh, let me go over here and scoop up Suzuki. Easy. But for the most part, you're always going to be fighting within yourself to figure out which way to go. Which way should I go? You know, and a lot of these neighboring regions are just traps. You know, I almost feel like there is no good way. There is no good answer. You know, you pick a time period in Shikoku. You pick a time period, and you post it in the comments, and I will tell you what the problem is. You know, you pick 1560, and you say I'm going to go north. I can tell you what's the problem there. You throw another date on there. You tell me I'm going to go west. I'll tell you what the pitfall is there. I'm going to go east in 1572. I'll tell you what the problem is there. There's pitfalls everywhere when you play on this island. So yeah, that's the list. I think I've rambled on for long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, two of the clans on this list we are using right now. I showed them off, the Imago and the Aura. Those are both ongoing runs on the channel. The Imago is on every Saturday. The Aura is whenever I get a chance to do an extra live stream or doing the Aura. So definitely stop by for those. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our uploads. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Until then.